welcome everybody. Just fooling around with something that I used to hear James Booker playing at the Maple Leaf about a million years ago. Cheers, welcome to the Quarantini week, or Quarantini number
44.
Blimey. Yum. All right, so 8 o'clock Tuesday night, here we are still in lockdown, so I'm still doing this for fun. And it's a lot of fun too, but it's more fun if I know who's watching. So you got anybody?
So far, you've got Australia, Nesconset, Long Island, Michigan, more Australia.
Must be very early in the
Bay,
morning
Washington,
in Australia.
Tokyo, Baltimore.
Oh, brilliant.
Hilton Head, South Carolina. Hyattsville, Maryland.
Wow, that's lots of people. Any questions?
Not yet.
Any requests?
Not yet. Los Angeles, more Japan.
I haven't got a name for that one yet. This one's on the back burner.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
2 requests.
Okay.
When you get back, Zulu coconuts.
Zulu coconuts. Well, you can take your dirty hands off my Zulu coconuts. You can take your dirty hands off my Zulu coconuts. I don't want no ifs and buts. Just take your hands off my nuts. Coconuts. You can come around my house. You come banging on the door. Drink up all my liquor. You can pass out on the floor. You can take my cash money, have the keys to my car. But you can't touch, 'cause that's too much. Now you've gone too far, baby. Take your dirty hands off my Zulu coconuts. I don't want no ifs and buts. Just take your hands off my nuts. Coconuts. Turns off my nuts, coconuts. I hope you're all taking this very seriously.
Very serious. Let's see.
I think that might be on the new record. It's a carnival tune, but in case anybody's wondering, this is a Zulu coconut. Keep your hands off, very prized, very valuable possessions, the family jewels. Any other questions or comments? Or
2 questions. From JB Wylep says, care to share any Bonnie Raitt stories? And Junichi Nagaya says, how was your first encounter with James Booker?
Well, that's a good question. I actually can't remember my first encounter with James Booker. He was a local in the bar that I used to work at when I first got to town. And this place was full of nutcases. It's called the Maple Leaf Bar, and was a magnet for eccentrics. And in that context, you know, Booker was very eccentric, but he didn't particularly stand out. So I can't remember the first time, really, to be honest with you. Good question.
Here's another one. Bob Adamson says, what New Orleans musicians first welcomed you and assisted your career?
Well, all of them, really. But there's one guy in particular who was a really great help to me as a drummer, called Kerry Brown. Really nice guy, Kerry, great drummer. And he was friends with some English friends of mine who were here, and they introduced me to him. And he got me my first recording session on a Mighty Sam McLean record. And so I ended up playing gigs with Sam McLean at Benny's Bar on Wednesday nights. And then Walter Washington came in one night and asked me to join his band, which I did. And then I joined Johnny Adams' band through that. But some of my first road trips were with Kerry and was Mighty Sam. Mighty Sam was a great blues singer. Passed away, sadly. But some of my first road trips in the South, playing little joints, was with Sam McLean. And great experience. But yeah, Kerry Brown.
More requests.
Yeah. Kerry, sorry, before we get into Kerry Brown used to play with a guy in town called Ironing Board Sam. And older locals might remember Ironing Board Sam, who was still around, I believe. And Ironing Board Sam used to play 2 keyboards, 2 cheap kind of Woolworths keyboards, tied to an ironing board with bungee cords, each key painted a different colour. And he could collapse the ironing board just with a flick of his knee, and he would drop do the splits and catch it at the bottom and then bring it back up again without missing a beat.
Didn't he play in a big tank of water during Jazz
He
Fest
did,
one
yeah.
year?
He played in a giant tank of water one year. He was an inventor. He went up in a balloon that he made from Jackson Square one time. Oh. And also he used to go to Jackson Square and sit inside a cardboard jukebox that he'd made out of a cardboard box with song requests on the front. And he put $1 in and he would sing through the hole in the cardboard box. He would sing whichever song you chose. He was the human jukebox. He also drove a Cadillac covered in AstroTurf and invented a cure for the cold. And wore a big afro wig and smoked a pipe and drank Bacardi rum. And really nice guy. Sounded like Little Richard. And Kerry Brown used to play drums with him. They were a duo. And he would do all this stuff like going to a giant tank of water and doing all this wild stuff. And Kerry would play with his drumsticks on fire. And the tom-toms would all the drum kit would be on fire as he was playing. So yeah, Kerry's still around. He came to our last gig before lockdown at the Maple Leaf, actually. He was there. Yeah, cool.
Care to share any Bonnie Raitt stories?
So many years playing with Bonnie, there's so many stories. I'd have to sit down and really think about that one. But one, I was talking about this the other day. There's lots, I mean, I played with her for 10 years, so there's all sorts of great things that happened. One particular day that sticks in my mind was a lovely sunny afternoon halfway up a Swiss Alp. and with Claude Nobbs, who ran the Montreux Jazz Festival, and when bands were playing this festival, he would sometimes invite them up to his chalet for a dinner and all sorts of amazing music. And the one we were playing at, all sorts of wonderful people playing at the festival that year, but the Blues Band, the Blues Brothers Band was playing, but with all the original guys, with Steve Cropper and Duck Dunn and Booker T. And John Belushi, I think, and some of those guys.
Dan
and they
Aykroyd.
were, yes, and they were there as well. And Claude Nobbs was very eager to get a jam session going. You could see all the musicians kind of cringing. It's like an afternoon off. But it was a nice party, and so we obliged, but nobody really knew what to do. So I just started singing something. And it was like a really crappy little drum set and a bad keyboard and a couple of cheap guitars and cheap amps. I don't know why. But Steve Cropper was there, and I started singing 6, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, a Wilson Pickett tune, just to kind of get it going. Someone had to do it, so I sort of volunteered. But no sooner had I started singing it than I realized I just didn't know any of the words. I do this quite often, actually. I leap with great gusto into a song, and only for this light to go off like 4 words in, like, oops, you shouldn't have done that. Because you're about to run out. With 4 words time, you'll have run out of lyrics. And so Steve Cropper started feeding me the lyrics as I was singing it. And it was fun, everyone was joining on the chorus. We had a great time. And the song came to an end, and he was sitting next to me, Steve Cropper, the guitar player. And I said to him, "Oh, thanks for giving me the words. I didn't even know the words to that song, but it's a great song." I said, "Who wrote it anyway?" And he said, "I did." So I had to apologise for completely butchering his song. But he was very cool about it. He dug it. He thought it was great.
And that's your Bonnie Raitt story?
Well, it's because I was there with Bonnie Raitt, Bonnie was there. There's probably others, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, here's a good name. Oberta Rainbow. Oh, wow. Reignbeau. Rainbow.
Mm.
How is the weather outside right now?
Very mild. And we're very lucky that the storm moved away from this little sort of delicate antique city. But we're obviously very concerned for our neighbours to the east.
Yeah, there's Elizabeth Watkins is in Pensacola Beach right now during the hurricane.
Wow.
Oof.
Yes, it was coming straight for New Orleans and then moved at the last minute. So that's why we're able to be here. We'd fully expected to be without power for a few days. Anyway, but fortunately the piano doesn't have to be plugged in. But you wouldn't have been able to hear it. Any requests for any songs? Or
Yeah. One for Toots Hibbert.
Oh. Yeah, Toots Hibbert. I met Toots Hibbert one time. He was a friend of Bonnie's. We were on a festival somewhere. A really nice chap. Let that girl go home. Let her go back home. Oh, she's underage. She's not fit for picture. Only adults can go to see the sweet carnage show. She's the one little girl Papa ever had. I'm the one little son Papa ever had. Oh yeah. Let that girl go home. Let her go back home. She's underage. She's not fit for the pictures. Only adults can go to see the sweet carnage show. She's the one little girl. Oh yeah. sea. Variation, a rocket to meet. Once again, I'm running out of words after the first verse, but I loved that song. That was a song I used to play in Delta Wing. That was the band I was in when I was 16 or 15. With Roger Hubbard, really good slide player. And he would sing that song. It was called Premature by Toots and the Maytals. Yeah, very sadly missed. Here's to you, Toots.
More?
Yeah.
All right. Pick up the pieces.
Pick up the pizzas. It's actually a very yes. It's a very sad song about a pizza delivery guy with the blues.
I love pizza. Wrong. Are you gonna play it?
Yeah. But I'm gonna have to change the key. I haven't sung for 6 months. I haven't done a gig for 6 months, so I'm moving all these songs down a whole step. Otherwise, I end up croaking. Hey girl, don't you know that we're drifting apart? We keep breaking each other's hearts. Tell me how long can this go on? So all the good love that we had is gone. Come on now, pick 'em up. Pick up the pieces, baby. Pick 'em up, baby. Pick up the pieces and start all over. We keep acting like little children, playing games. Oh, it just ain't fair. Stepping on each other's feelings, baby. Deep down inside, we both know that we care. Come on now, pick 'em up. Pick up the pieces, baby. Pick 'em up, baby. Pick up the pieces and start all over again. Girl, I know that we can make it if we just keep on the way. Breaking up this love affair is too high a price to pay. Come on, pick 'em up. Pick up the pieces, baby. Pick 'em up, baby. Pick up the pieces. Pick 'em up. Pick up the pieces now. Pick 'em up, baby. Pick up the pieces and start on over again. Something like that. I haven't played that one for a few years.
Now I want pizza.
You can go and pick them up then.
Do we go pick up some
Order them,
pizza
you can go and
after
pick
this?
them up. Yeah. Yeah.
Here's some more. 21st century. Any instrumental piece. Wrong number. I'm Gone. Something from Lee Dorsey. Maybe Holy Cow. You Are My Sunshine with a street beat.
Oh, my ginger beer went down the wrong way. I can't sleep since you walked out on me. Holy cow, what you doing to me? Walking ledge, my nerves on edge since you walked out on me, child. Holy cow, what you doing to me? Holy cow, what you doing, child? What you doing, child? Holy smoke, you know it ain't no joke. I can't walk, yet I can't talk since you walked out on me. Holy cow, what you doing to me? I'm walking a ledge, my nerves are on edge since you walked out on me. Holy cow, what you doing to me? Holy cow, what you doing, child? Doing what you doing, child? Holy smoke, you know it ain't no joke. Hey, hey, hey. Now, holy cow, what you doing, child? What you doing, child? Now, holy smoke now, and you know it ain't no joke. That's a hard one to find the right key for because it modulates in the middle. It's very clever, that song. Written by Alan Toussaint, sung by Lee Dorsey. I'm sitting in la waiting for my ya-ya. Sitting in la waiting for my ya-ya. It may sound funny, but I don't believe she's coming on. Yeah, baby, hurry and don't let me worry on. Yeah, baby, hurry and don't make me worry on. You know that I love you, oh, I love you on. That one was called Ya La La Ya 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 Ya, and everybody thinks it's Alan Toussaint playing on that because Alan was always really associated with Lee Dorsey, but it was a guy called Marcel Richards, who was a piano player from here that I only found out about right towards the end, and then he died. But Mac Rebenak told me that he and Marcel and Booker used to go for piano lessons at Cosmo's studio when they were kids. But that's Marcel Richards playing the piano on that one. It really sounds like Alan Toussaint.
Lipstick Traces, Stardust, Popcorn.
Lipstick Traces is kind of a similar groove. Your pretty brown eyes and your wavy hair don't come off so much now, baby, since you're not there. I got it bad like I told you before. I'm so in love with you. Don't leave me no more. Leave me no more. Lipstick traces on a cigarette. Don't come home no more, baby. Can you're not there. I got it bad like I told you before. Well, I'm so in love with you. Don't leave me no more. So won't you come back home? Or won't you come back home? I'm crazy about you and I can't live without you. Yeah, baby, won't you come on home? Lipstick traces on a cigarette. Empty memory lingers now of you, yeah. I got it bad like I told you before. I'm so in love with you. Don't leave me no more. 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 The worst person I know, mother-in-law, she worried me so. She think advice is the Constitution, sent from hell below. Lipstick traces, yeah, Benny Spellman, and then, of course, mother-in-law. Please don't take offense, Judy, if you're watching.
Would be my mother.
But that's an Ernie Cato tune. Benny Spellman sang on his tune, and he sang on Benny Spellman's tune. So that was, I guess they cut those tunes in the same session. Any questions? Any interesting? Just lots of requests.
You've started a thing here. You're being a human jukebox. Want some more? Somebody else has just requested wrong number, so that's 2 for wrong number.
Every time the telephone rings, I hold my breath, hoping it's you, baby. I'm scared to death. Then a voice said hello. Can I speak to Joe? Wrong number. I'm sorry, baby. Bye-bye. Pity the fool that loves you so. If you found somebody new, please don't let me know. Phone ring once again, and my poor heart skipped a beat. Let it be you, baby. That's my belief. Then a voice on the other end says, can I speak to Ben? Wrong number, I'm sorry. Bye, bye, bye. my heart, you know it always will remain. My stardust melody. My stardust melody, baby. My stardust melody. A memory of love's refrain.
Well, you just seamlessly slid into Stardust there. Nice one.
I'm a sleeveless slider.
Ginger ale making you drunk?
Seemingly sleeveless slider.
She sells seashells. Ready for more?
I'm going to talk about the music and answer some questions.
All right, well.
Any questions about stuff? About the music?
Here's one that just came in, but you can't really talk about it too much. Steve Mayer says, that's a fine piano, John. What is the brand?
What is the brand? A Yamaha. It's an unusual, it's one this brand no one's ever heard of. That's what they told me in the shop.
It's a one-off.
It's a one-off, yeah. No one else has got one like it. It's called a Yamaha. And it's getting tuned tomorrow, in case anybody with incredible sense of pitch is noticing that certain notes up at the end are starting to sound like a barroom piano, which I kind of dig, really.
But we have some of those too.
But we have some of those too, yeah.
The model? What's the model?
I think it's a C6.
That sounds familiar.
I think it's a C6. I don't think it's a C7. It says it somewhere, but I can't remember where.
Watch your drink.
Oh. It shall remain a mystery. It shall have to remain a mystery because I can't see the little thing that says, but I think it's a C6. It's kind of a good little funk machine. I've used this on lots of records.
It's not really little.
Well, it's not as big as a C7 though. Concert grand. You know the best piano I ever played?
What was the best piano that you ever played?
I was hoping you were going to ask me that. Liberace's piano.
Oh, I remember that one. How could you forget it?
Liberace's Baldwin piano is completely covered in mirrors and mosaics
like
and
a disco ball piano.
yeah, it looked like a giant
great big disco ball that somebody
it looked like one of his
squished into a
suits,
piano.
yeah. But boy, that thing was great big old Baldwin piano. When Baldwin pianos were really good. All right, I'm just going to play something, make something up.
You want a question?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
All right. June Vaughn Hill says, how old were you when you started playing piano, and was that your first instrument?
No, I played guitar first for quite a long time, and really only took this seriously when I came to New Orleans. So when I was about 18, I'd already been playing at that point. I've been playing guitar for 13 years, probably something like that. So I've already been playing for a long time. But I did fool with it and write songs and stuff on it. But before that, you know, it's a gradual love affair with the piano. But when I moved to New Orleans, the piano became the main focus, and I'm still trying to figure out how to play it. But I always feel like a bit of a fraud, really. I'm a guitar player masquerading as a piano player, and no one's noticed yet. I've been able to pull it off just about, but someone's going to bust me at some point.
Here's questions coming in now.
Okay.
Diane Horrigan said, what made Liberace's piano so great?
Well, it's an old piano, so it had, there's a lot of pressure on the strings on a piano, and it's something that settles down like an old house, you know. And with age, there are certain eccentricities that start getting visited on certain notes and certain. So it's got a bit of personality to it. But I think it might have been something to do with the hammers. It was a concert ground, but I like for playing funk where you're doing a lot of stuff in the left hand, like kind of percussive stuff like that. It's good to have a hard hammer, and it gives it much more definition in the left hand for playing fast stuff and like. But that's why I bought this piano. And actually, this piano had a much brighter voicing. I actually had them soften the hammers and change it up and soften up a little bit, because it's great for playing funk, but it wasn't so good for playing other stuff. It didn't really have great dynamics, but it's better now. So that's the thing. I think the Liberace's, it's that hard pianos.
Maybe because also it was covered with mirrors. Like seriously, like it kept the sound more bouncy.
I don't know.
Because the sound
kept the sound more bouncy.
Because it would bounce more inside.
The piano tuners coming to. You want to get up and discuss this?
You know what I mean? Resonant is the word. Resonant.
No. Bouncy is the right word. Put mirrors on the piano, it makes the sound more bouncy.
Shut up, jerk. All right, here's a question that you're going to like. David Rishpan said, would love to know a little bit more about that Cuban rumba you played with Jameson and Nigel last week. Any other Cuban music you're checking out? Would love to hear you play some Arsenio Rodriguez.
Well, I think the thing we played last week, ironically, wasn't Cuban, but it may as well have been Cuban. I think the thing you were talking about was probably this one. Something like that. I'm messing it up chronically because I've actually decided to go from the first tune into a second tune, and I ended up playing it in C sharp, which is not the key I usually play it in. So on the spot. Key adjustments there. But that first thing is actually from New Orleans. If you think it sounds old, it's because it is old. It's very old. That's from the mid-19th century. And kind of right at the end of that 50-year window where Spain was ruled, New Orleans was ruled not by France, but by Spain, via a guy in Cuba called General O'Reilly. And so the music here at the time would have sounded very similar to what was played in Havana. I dare say there were a few other things that set it apart, but at that time Havana was a much, much more important and much bigger city than New Orleans. New Orleans was a tiny little mosquito-ridden, malarial outpost. But the important thing is that rhythm there. gang, gang, gang. It's the same rumba groove that Professor Longhair used 100 years later with the. And so it's a direct linear evolution from one thing to the other. But as I say, the first one's interesting because it's not actually Cuban, it's from New Orleans by Basil Barrez. But
what's it called, and is there sheet music for it anywhere?
I don't know if there is. I don't think anybody knows this tune. It's called Las Campanillas, Spanish name. And that morphed into another tune called La Bella Cubana, which is Cuban, by a guy called Jose White, I think his name was.
Very Cuban name.
Yeah. And that's one I learnt from Hernan Lopez Nusa in Havana, and we did a duet. We've done a duet on that a couple of times, with him playing piano, and me actually playing an 8-string ukulele, but playing tres parts on an 8-string ukulele. But I love Cuban music, and used to be pretty fanatical about it, especially when I was going down there a lot. But Cuban music is very, very different, although there are some aspects of it that are very, very similar. Cuban style. I'm never going to be a Cuban piano player. Those guys are just, they're trained like Russian athletes are trained. You know, it's just incredible to see someone like Chucho Valdez or Hernan Lopez Nusa. I mean, it's just brilliant stuff they do. And they're mostly classically trained. I'm not classically trained at all. I taught myself how to play. So I don't have all the right fingering for a lot of that stuff. But so I really am more interested in Professor Longhair Island, that place somewhere between here and Havana, where the music meets up in the middle. And as I say, when you go back to the old stuff, the 19th century stuff, it's really a short jump to go from, Basil Barrez to Gottschalk, from Gottschalk to Cuban pianists like Samel, Cervantes, and then with Jelly Roll Morton, you have the Spanish tinge and all the ragtime and stride stuff, which is another style that I don't really play. I leave that to people who are real experts at it. And there really are some good ones, especially some guys like Tom McDermott in town. I always liked it before I even knew what it was, really. And the first time I tried to write something in that style was a tune that I haven't recorded. And it's just an instrumental. And I actually came up with it when I was living in London, in East London. And I got a phone call from New Orleans to say that James Booker had died, which was very sad, because he was phenomenal, really, James Booker, and I knew him. Not very well, but I knew him. So it was sad to hear that he died. And so I wrote this sad thing, which was supposed to be like I call it Creole lament. And without really knowing it, I was playing a Cuban-style song. And that's kind of where I sort of started launching into the similarities. So yeah, I wrote that for James Booker. And I have recorded it, but it's never gone on a record. I did play it one time, I think, on Tremé, in a scene in a party where I was playing with the girl violinist, whose name I forget. Anyway, so but yeah, the links between and that riff at the end is very Arsenio Rodriguez.
More requests. The Crave, Basin Street Blues, Fats Domino's, Be My Guest, Frenchman Street, Since I Met You Baby, 21st Century.
Hey, baby, won't you be my guest? Do rest. So be my guest tonight. That's Be My Guest once again. Add that to the list of tunes I know. I don't even know a whole. I don't think I know the. Actually, all I know of that song is Be My Guest. That's the title. But I played that one out of all of them because, we're just talking about, this is my favourite subject, as you've probably already figured out by now, but talking earlier on about the connections between Cuba and New Orleans. Well, a lot of the stuff with New Orleans is New Orleans music coming to New Orleans and then all getting mixed up and coming out as a New Orleans sound from Africa, from Spain and France, and all the other things. And of course, New Orleans exported its music very successfully all around the world with jazz and rhythm and blues. But one aspect of that not so many people know about, which is kind of interesting, which is how Caribbean music came to New Orleans, but then New Orleans in the 1950s was producing a sound that people in Jamaica were flipping out over if they could pick it up on, if the weather was good, if they could pick it up on their small radios. And Be My Guest by Fats Domino, it was pretty similar to some of the other songs he'd cut and other songs that had been part of the New Orleans sound. But it was something that really appealed to Jamaicans, and they copied it. That kind of sound. And it was easy to copy because in those days, today if a young kid is coming up and loves, Jay-Z or somebody, whoever's Cardi B, and they want to play that song, it's great. Those songs are made in studios with computers, and it's impossible to sit down and pick up an instrument really and play any of those songs, even if you wanted to. But in the 50s, if you really loved Lloyd Price's latest record, you could get together with your mates and you just need to get 2 saxophones, a raggedy old drum kit, a piano, and an upright bass. And then it was up to you to play the instruments well, and then you could do a pretty good emulation if you were a good musician. And in Jamaica, they did, and there was one particular band called Clue J and the Blues Blasters in Kingston. And Jay Cluett was the band leader. Cluett actually is a very Creole name. There's a Cluett Street about 4 blocks down the road. Clue J and the Blues Blasters played New Orleans rhythm and blues, and everyone really dug it. And they played to Jamaicans, they all went crazy, and they started making records. And the piano player's name was Theophilus Beckford, and he made a record called Easy Snapping. And Easy Snapping because this it's piano based and it works around that, and the right hand, if you can you see this on from the phone?
Yeah.
that's what the right hand's doing. The left hand of the piano is playing what the upright bass would play to strengthen the sound of the bass. And because the bass is so low, you can't really hear it clearly sometimes on small speakers. So will you hear more of the right hand than of this? Jamaicans called that part scat, 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 and they called the music ska because it had that scat, scat, scat sound, and the piano in the right hand and the guitars would double that then, and so that right hand of the piano became the main part, and of course that slowed down. In the 60s became rock steady, and that slowed down even more and became that's called when piano players do that in reggae music, or keyboard players, it's called a bubble. And if you're playing it like this, 2, 3, 4, that's a bubble in reggae. If you play it like this, two, 3, 4. It's playing exactly the same thing, but the other way around. And what you're actually playing is the piano part for a Cuban cha-cha-cha. 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 And it's interesting. It's the same thing. That's my favorite thing, is spotting all these similarities.
So in summary, Fats Domino, he make the reggae man.
I couldn't have put it better myself. In fact, toast to Fats Domino and Toots and the Maytals, ska, rocksteady and reggae. I shall drink a glass of Jamaican ginger beer. Very nice. Well, I'm afraid it's that time, everybody. Another delightful Tuesday evening, completely wasted. That's an hour of your life you're never going to get back. You could have been reading the, great novel. You could have been painting the garden shed. You've been cooking lovely dinner, but no. Decided instead to come and join us here for the Quarantini Happy Hour, and I'm very glad you did. And last week we had a special guest. We're probably going to have some more coming up. And this is kind of what's going on here at Funk Headquarters, making a new record. The Patreon site we've got lots of people signing up, followers, fans joining that. It's kind of like a fan club where you get special stuff. Extra stuff that nobody else gets to hear. And for example, I had fun playing Professor Longhair's piano a couple of weeks ago, so some of that stuff is up there. And what else is going on? We have a gig coming up, but I think in a back private, well, it's not a private gig, it's open, but I think all the tickets are already sold out probably. Only 40 tickets, socially distanced gig, but hopefully there'll be a few more of those coming up. And that's about it, really. Cheers. Quarantini time. See you next week. All right.